When holding space for self-reunification through the magical marathon mystery school, there's several different miracles that can happen. And there's hundreds and thousands of miracles, but specifically through these marathon journeys with daily transformational marathons and weekly unveiling marathon journeys. When you look into a mirror through these very specific guided journeys, practices, and experiences, something that can happen in very, very miraculous ways is that self aspects who are flowing through brain-body wiring from past experiences that never got fully processed and connected with present navigational data and present aspects of the inner experiencer of consciousness, those self aspects might look into a mirror and see a self of their own self that they've never met before, that they've never seen before. And that can actually be quite disorienting. Let's imagine that there were like 10 years of traumatic experiences, for example, and every year of that intensity caused self aspects to be, you could describe it as the parts are still in those experiences, but what's actually happening is they're in body mind wiring that hasn't gotten processed yet, or aspects of self essence haven't been fully called back into the self right here, right now. There's different ways to describe it and view it. But basically, these self aspects are now flowing through the brain body wiring that was stimulated during those experiences that never got processed, never got connected, never got content upgrades like, hey, that happened, but that's no longer the navigational data that's, primarily, operating in the operating system, basically. And so if there's like all these different years of life and there's all this different stuff that's happened, and there's all these different self aspects that are maybe in navigational patterns where the self has self associations about remembering, how it saw itself in a mirror in relation with all these other experiences that were happening, for example, is one example. So there's all these self aspects. And so one thing that can happen through these marathons is those parts of self can look into the self that now exists. And for them, it's like they're looking into a future that they never imagined could exist. For those aspects of the self, it can feel like they are actually looking into a future that they never knew could exist. Because in this example, there were these self aspects from, the past 10 years of traumatic experiences, and the way that they associated with themselves and their existence was based on all of this data, right? And that was in the past, but they're kind of stuck there. They're kind of trapped there until this brain body wiring kind of gets, reformatted, if you will, upgrade in the operating system. And so for those aspects of self flowing through the brain body wiring that hasn't been processed yet in relation with those past experiences, for them to look into the self now existing, right? So maybe for them, that's like 6 years in the future, because these are self aspects from maybe 6 years ago that those experiences haven't been 100% processed yet, but it's flowing beyond awareness, so you don't know about it. You could consciously look back and think, okay, yeah, I've processed it all, because I can look back and then still be here and I'm grounded and whatever. But there's so much data in the brain and the body. There's so much data in the body mind. It takes quite a bit to truly process something and to have it be fully integrated, fully updated, fully expanded into a new navigational system that's free from that and free to move beyond that. And so for those self aspects, is basically like looking into a future 6 years down the road, and it's not related with the stuff that was going on then, because there's new stuff going on, new navigational patterns, new life experiences, new way of associating with yourself. And so for those aspects of self, it's like looking into a future that they never knew existed or could exist. And that's, of course, just one example. But that can happen in so many different ways. Maybe there's aspects of the childhood self who never got to see the adult they grew up to be and the adult who's here now to care for them, because past moments of unfulfilled attachment needs cause disintegrated brain-body wiring, and there are still self-aspects that are stuck at age 2 or stuck at age 5 or stuck at age 7 or stuck at age 12, but you don't know about it because it's happening in the systems beyond awareness. Or maybe there was self-aspects who were in past relationships with friendships, family members, romantic partners, in work situations, whatever it was, and they associated with themselves in relation with those other people, and they've never gotten to meet a self that is associated with itself beyond those relationships. So there's lots of different possibilities. But one miracle that can happen through the Magical Marathon Mystery School is aspects of self through a self-reunification journey, which is one of many components of the marathons, with daily transformational practices and weekly unveiling journeys. Those aspects of self from past experiences flowing through present brain-body wiring that never got fully processed, to summarize it, never got fully upgraded and improved in its information or reconnected with all the other data, all the other stuff going on, all the other aspects of self, all the other navigational networks. So content and connectivity of navigational patterns and the self aspects flowing through that. These self aspects from those past experiences and this present disintegrated brain-body wiring are then actually seeing a future self of them that they did not know could exist. And another fascinating miracle that can happen through the Magical Marathon Mystery School is that the awareness of self in the present moment and the experiencer of self in the present moment can look into the mirror and see an aspect of self from those past experiences flowing through that brain-body wiring that could maybe use a little loving liberation, and actually see the essence of them independently of those past experiences, but be able to actually see the navigational projection through the body mind in relation with the energetic data that those self aspects are experiencing beyond awareness. Okay, that's a little bit to process. We go pretty in depth in the Magical Marathon Mystery School. But let's just play a little, like, quantum analysis game here, okay? There's the present moment experiencer of self who is being witnessed by the present moment awareness of self. It's the self in the now, fully oriented with the now. And then that self is looking into a mirror. When they look into a mirror, they are not seeing the body and the face and the skin and the eyes and the facial structures and the, relationship between different parts of the body and stuff, right? They are not seeing the body as it objectively exists in the mirror. Instead, those self aspects, fully oriented in the present moment, are seeing a navigational projection in the mirror of body mind wiring being activated beyond awareness. And when you reach into a space of the body mind where there's wiring that could use a little loving liberation, there's so many different possibilities. Any past moment of unfulfilled attachment need is the simplest way to summarize it. But there could be so many different potentials, but there's parts of the brain and the body where the content isn't like 100% and the connectivity isn't like 100%. Past moments of unfulfilled attachment needs, the childhood self who never got to fully be oriented with the self existing now independently of the experiences standing between childhood and the present moment, aspects of self who were always associated with their own existence in relation with external people and circumstances, situations, and experiences, and never got to associate with themselves independently of that. Self aspects who encountered traumatic or stressful experiences at any point in their life in any way, mental, emotional, verbal, physical, any kind of traumatic experience in any capacity. So the first miracle is that those self aspects from the past and this unprocessed data can look into the mirror and basically see a future self of them they didn't know existed who's actually in the now. And then the flip side of this is that the self existing in the now can actually somatically see those self aspects from those past experiences through the navigational projection of that disintegrated brain body wiring. The navigational projection of that disintegrated brain body wiring. But in that process, they're able to actually see the essence of self, not the past experiences, not the disintegrated brain body wiring, not the projections or whatever, but actually see the essence of self through the colored region of the eyes while eye gazing in a mirror. And so there's the awareness of self, the present moment experiencer of self, and then the experiencer of self from every moment of life that's ever happened in relation with the present moment. And then that's consciousness, that's the essence of self. And then within that, there's these different aspects of self, the energy, the self aspects who perceive energy through the mind, the self aspects who receive energy through the body, the self aspects who sustain and preserve and give and extend energy in relation with that mind and that body through spirit, and self aspects of that present moment self in relation with that foundational childhood self. There's all these different ways of exploring. So that's the self, but then there's also the brain body wiring, and there's the frontal lobes of the brain, which support the awareness of self. And then there's all the rest of the stuff going on in the brain and the body that are supporting mind and body through spirit in the present moment. And there's all these trillions of navigational networks carrying this data from every moment of experience, including a lifetime of unconscious memories that hold patterns of feeling and movement, which affect our mental, emotional, behavioral, relational, spiritual health and well-being. And it affects our thoughts, feelings, movement patterns, responses, choice tendencies, and even personality traits beyond awareness. And so there's all this wiring that has stuff from every year of life with conscious and unconscious pieces of information with different navigational roles and priorities, different ways of carrying self associations, and different ways of carrying data about how that self associates with every component of reality. And that's flowing through trillions of complex brain body networks. And that would be the body mind or the subconscious realms or unconscious memories, however you want to describe that, in addition to that mind and that body and these different brain regions and their own, roles of functionality and whatnot. And so then there's the activity of the awareness in the brain, and there's the activity of this present moment experience through the brain and the body. And then there's this activity of navigational networks from a lifetime of past experiences that are trying to navigate that present moment experience beyond awareness. And so we're able to use the awareness of self to have this present moment experience while actually exploring the information and how it's organized and connecting and operating and affecting experience beyond awareness throughout all of these trillions of navigational networks. And so through the Magical Marathon Mystery School, among the trillions of miracles that can happen and totally change your life in the most transcendent way imaginable, which is, quite frankly, a radical understatement. Among the infinite potentials here is that those aspects of self from past experiences that maybe never got fully processed or never got fully reoriented with a new style of navigation in the present moment through, this continuous growth and evolution. Okay. Those self aspects from the past flowing through present brain body wiring, carrying that data through navigational networks, are able to see that present moment self as if they are looking at a future self that they never could have imagined existing. Because this journey helps resculpt self associations in a way that fulfills the attachment needs, resparks that neurodevelopmental process of social engagement, where experiences in relation with attachment well-being formulated the foundations of navigation and regulation of the body-mind. And you start to reassociate with your own existence through these marathon practices and journeys. And then the flip side of the other thing that can happen that's basically the opposite of that, or the flip side of that, the yin to the yang here, is that the present moment self, experiencer and awareness, present moment self, can somatically connect with aspects of self from your entire life, because you activate the navigational networks that they flow through, and you actually witness the navigational projection of the body mind regarding how you see your own physical vessel reflected through the mirror's glass. And so you learn about the navigational networks and the content and connectivity that those aspects of self are flowing through. But then you're also connecting with those aspects of self independently of the experience, because you're locking eyes with them. You're locking eyes with the energetic essence of them, and you're actually getting to meet them beyond the experience that caused them to only ever know existence in a particular way. And this opens doors for processing those past experiences, re-sculpting the information and the way that information connects. And again, among infinite benefits, some of the most powerful that I've continued to experience through my personal journey and the expression of my work here is aspects of the inner child being reoriented with the adult that they grew up to be and the adult who is here now to care for them, especially without the gap of the experience that have happened between childhood and now. 2 is self aspects who learned how to associate with themselves in relation with other people, certain circumstances, situations, or experiences. And the body mind learns to socially engage with other people, and that's how it learns how to engage with itself. And so if the body mind never got to meet itself, then there's all this information about I associate with who I am and the whatness of isness of me-ness in relation with these people in my family, in relation with these friends that I've had at different stages of my life, in relation with these romantic partners that I've been with, in relation with these other people in certain experiences. And so then those self aspects start to reassociate with themselves independently of those relationships, independently of those experiences. And then third, a really powerful thing is processing unprocessed experiences. And this can be just minor moments of stress, and it can also be really big, capital traumas. And the best part is that you don't have to look at any of the details of experience to deeply, fully, somatically process them. And that's been really powerful. Especially when there's like a lot of stuff you got to process. And you're like, okay, if I do this one at a time, I could take multiple lifetimes just to process all this crap. So you kind of got to have a system to be like, I'm going to do one thing and it's going to process all of it simultaneously in the most powerful way, without having to look at the details of all the crap. And that's what these marathons can do. And so the inner child, past relationships, traumatized self aspects, and expanding into a self that you've never met before. And this can feel like meeting yourself for the first time. This can feel like connecting with your higher self. This can feel like meeting the future self before the future comes, because you're bringing in the embodied expression of that self here and now. But meeting a self you've never known, exploring a self of you that is free from all this stuff. If you had met yourself before you'd met anyone else, and if your body mind supported the navigation and regulation of your life with unconditional love, then who would you be? And that's usually someone very different than we naturally experience ourselves to be until we go through this inner work play journey. And so those are 4 different things that can happen. So self aspects from those past experiences flowing through present brain body wiring that hasn't been upgraded and updated yet, getting to see a future self they never knew existed, which is here in the now. And that can be a childhood self-aspect, self-aspect from some past relationship, a self-aspect from some trauma, anything. And those are just 3 examples. And then the experiencer and awareness of self in the present moment can actually see those aspects of self from every moment of life because you're activating the navigational networks they flow through. And instead of looking at the past experience, you're looking at a present navigational projection of body-mind wiring and the aspects of self who are flowing through that information beyond awareness. And you're able to learn about the content and connectivity of the navigational data that they're experiencing subconsciously and unconsciously, to learn about the quality of their inner landscape, learn about the quality of their inner landscape. And then you get to see the essence of that self independently of those experiences and independently of that brain-body wiring and independently of those body-mind projections. So you get to learn about the body-mind, unveil it, and then transform anything you want to transform. But you also get to unveil these self-aspects and reunify with them. So just a little sneak peek into the magical Marathon Mystery School. And you can dive into this magical Marathon Mystery School through a self-guided journey, through a one-time sacred soul session with me, or through a multi-month personalized pathway, working and playing one-on-one with me through all of the different modalities of these expressions. And these journeys utilize my original subconscious unveiling and transformation techniques created through Mirror Play with Mirror Power, originating from the Implicit Revelations case study and my personal dimensions theory. Welcome to the Magical Marathon Mystery School.